This is Gemara Zevachim, Daf Chof Dalid, and once again trying to get the Shirim up for those who would like to prepare early for Yom Tif, B'siyata D'Shemaya, the Daf for the second day of Sukkot. We like to dedicate all the learning as an incredible schos, Refuah Shalema, for Gabriel Simcha ben Miriam Ahuva, P'soich Sha'ar Chayla Yisrael. We're holding 10 lines from the bottom of Chav Gimel Amud Beis, as we quote the next psul in the Mishnah, which is Yoshev, which if any of the Avodos, the Kabbalah, the Zrika was done sitting, not only is it puzzle, but it's Mechalel, meaning the carbon, not in contrast to our first Mishnah, which was kosher, Ve'enai Miratzeh. Here it's puzzle as well. Says the Gemara, Minolan, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Kra, says the Torah La Moed L'Shareis, you have to stand to serve. From there we darshan lamita b'chartav levi yeshiva, that he was chosen, the Kehanim, the pasuk is discussing, was chosen for standing and not for sitting. Tana Rabbanan, continues the Gemara, lama l'shareis. From here the Bryce learned mitzvah shuayimer. It's a mitzvah when he said, lama l'shareis mitzvah. Teach you it's a mitzvah to stand by the avodah. When the Torah says ha'oimdim, from there we learn out shana lavakasov la'akev. From here we see the Torah is repeating it la'akev, that it is essential that it holds back and it will passel if not. Amrei Rava Rav Nachman, it says Rava Mechti. I don't understand 5 lines from the bottom. Yoshev kizardam. Yoshev is similar to azar nan kainu mechal avodah. And therefore what? Ema, we should say, Mazar b'misa, what is the story? If a zar performs the avodah, he's chayav misa b'dei shamayim, av yoshev b'misa, should be the same thing. What's the kasha? Allah matanya, why do we learn in the Brayis, avl arel oinin yoshev, einon b'misa? So says the Gemara, I don't understand what's going on over here. If the psul yoshev should be just like a zar, the halacha should be, it should have the same punishment, should be a chiyah misa. But we learned in the Braysa this is not true. Answers Gemara al-Azhara. Says the Gemara, excuse me. But Alama Tanya Avel Ariel, one more time. Alama Tanya Avel Ariel Einin Yoshev, these three, Einam b'misa, Alabazara. Answers the Gemara, Mishanavim Mechoser Begadim. Because when the Torah speaks of one who's now wearing the appropriate big day kuna and one who did not wash his hands and his legs, those are two psukim are what? Shnei ksuva bayim kechad. And those are the two that are chayim misa b'dei shamayim. And when you have shnei ksuva bayim kechad, says the Gemara, as we turn over to Chavdal and Amid Aleph, and therefore what? Shnei ksuva bayim kechad. Ein melamdin, classical rule that we can't learn when we have shnei ksuva b'ayin kechad. Ask the Gemara, but I, as always, about davar melamdin, shdu yayin havlei shlishi, then it's a third pasuk, and ushleisha l'divrei hakol ein melamdin. Everyone holds that shleisha ksuvim you cannot learn from. We go to the next case of the Mishnah, which is oimid al gabi kelim al gabi behema. Al gabi ragli chavera. In these 3 cases, you're standing not on the ground of Beis HaMikdash, but rather someone else's utensils or an animal. The halacha is possible. Says Gemara, Min Allah did Tanad Veri Yishmael Hayel Veritza Mikadeshes. The floor of the Beis HaMikdash is kadosh. Kli shares mekadshim. Ma kli shares leidavar chaitzes beinol bein kli shares. You can't have anything interposing, anything separating, anything creating chatzitza. Fritz will either a chayitz, you can have anything separating beinai lebein haritzva, between the kayin, and between the floor. And says the Gemara tzricha, and we need to list all 3 cases of chayra if these are all one yeside. If it's a simple yeside that you can't have a chatzitza, so says the Gemara, why do we have to write all 3 cases? It's not the same type of item. Why? Because it's not the same type of basar. One's a keli, one's a person. Aval behema, which at least is the mina basar avu, it's the same type of flesh, imaloi. V'yashvina behema, I would have thought that what? Tzolai mina da'adamu. Aval chaver da'adamu imaloi, sricha. Therefore, the Mishnah had to list all three cases. Continues the Gemara Tanya. We learned in a brisa. Rabbi Eliezer Aimer, 13 lines down. The first one line is Ragloi. Ragloi achas ala kliv, ragloi achas ala ritzba, or raglachas ala even, raglachas ala ritzba. Royin kol she'ilu yinatal akliv, v'tinatal even. If you remove the kli or the even, yachal amud al ragloi. Achas, you have to stand on one leg. V'yavoid, then avoidas l'geshira. V'imlav avoidas l'psula. This is similar. We find this halacha in many places. We have this halacha about leaning. We said, how do we know? Is it called leaning? Is it called standing? The litmus test is, we view it, if you remove that item, would you be able to stand? So says the Gemara, the same thing. If you have 2 feet and one's in the ground and one's in the keli, we see if you remove that item, would you be able to stand? Continues the Gemara, Bayi Rav Ami, 20 lines down. The first line is Ami. Nildaldala Evan Va'amad Alel. If the stone became loose and the kohen is standing on it, what is the halacha? This is an Evan on the floor of the Beis HaMikdash. What is the story? Says the Gemara, if he doesn't intend to reattach, there's no shayla. That what? It's not part of the Beis HaMikdash floor. You're going to reattach it. My, do we say, keep the eye to the chivra, command the chivra dami, since you're going to reattach it, it's as if it's reattached. Or maybe no, hashtamiya talisha right now. It is detached, and that is the shayla of the Gemara. So says the Gemara, another way of learning the shayla, Rav Zuta Ba'ila, hachi as follows, Ba'i Ravami, Nekra Evan Vamin Kaima, if the stone is no longer standing in its place, Mao, my coming by like Ki Kaddish David Ritzval, Yoina Kaddish Adilma, Ala Aristataima Kaddish. Where did David Amelch like the floor of the Beis HaMikdash Kaddish? Was it just the ground or it go all the way down? Frak the Gemara v'Tvaile Kula Azara Kulai. So why don't we ask the same thing? Ask the Gemara on the entire Azara. That the entire Azara floor was ripped off and they stood underneath it. Why are we talking about a case specifically of one stone? So rather, what are you going to tell me? Let them shitlei that aris at time of kaddish. Avada it's kaddish until all the way down. Coming by like derech sheiros bekach or ein derech sheiros bekach. This is a normal way of serving, standing the area that the stone was or not. That was the shailon on that. The Gemara concludes, Teiku. Continues the Gemara, quoting the end of the Mishnah, 20 lines to the bottom of the Amid, Kibul B'Smal Basal. Rav Shimon Machshir, Tan Rabbanan Be'etzva. Says in the Basik, with the finger, V'lokach. Says in the Basik, he should take Milamed. Shall take Kabbalah Elabim, you have to take it with your right hand. Be'etzva V'nasan, the Torah says with your finger, and you should give. Milamed shall take Netzin Elabim, you have to give with your right hand. Omar Rav Shimon, v'chinam reyad v'kabbalah. Says Rav Shimon, understand to say yad? No! Ella, be'etzboi v'nasan. Shlotei nisina le'biyamin. Hayav lo'inam reyad v'kabbalah, say hand, kibul b'smal. If you did kabbalah with the left hand, then kosher. So Rav Shimon arguing the Tanakama. Says, what is this shittas Rav Shimon? Rav Shimon manavshach. Yes, like Zeir Shava, Kilonam Yave Kabbalah Mayave, because if it says the word Yad, be less like Zeir Shava, can never Yave Kabbalah Mayave. So says, right, I don't understand what is Shitas of Shimon. So Amar Rav Yehuda, Lailam Las Lechalei, Zeir Shava. Vachik Amar Le, this is the Shaila. Chenemer Yad Yemin Be Kabbalah, Hayav Lonemer Yad. Yemin Be Kabbalah, Kibbutz Small, kosher. Is the Yad Yemin said? No, just says Yad. And therefore, since it doesn't say Yad Yamin, if you did Kabbalah with small, it's going to be kosher. That's what Rav Shimon is going to learn. So Amalei Rabbi Yachi, if this is true, if Rav Shimon doesn't hold of the Gzeir Shava, then I feel in Nisina Nami, why just Kabbalah? even the placing of the blood. Is that true? Tanya, 10 lines from the bottom of Shimon, Yad. Inu El Yamin, Etzba Inu El Yamin. So Elam, Arav, Elam, Isler of Shimon. V'hacha kamar. Chinamra Yad B'Kabbalah. Hayav l'nemra Yad B'Kabbalah. Ela Etzba. If you actually Kabbalah, that's you can't do a Kabbalah with one finger. Kibbul B'Small is going to be kosher. Amar le Rav Sama, Bereder Rav Ashi Ravina. Efshar Diavad le Oizen L'Sfas Mizrak. As Rav Sama, Bereder Rav Ashi the Ravina. Can you make an oizen, literally an ear, a handle, on the edge of the mizrak, on the edge of the bowl, and then you have to be mekabel it by one finger. Meaning, if you have a handle on something, as you see right here, this illustration, as our wonderful cup over here, if you have your handle on it, then you could actually do a kabbalah with one finger. So is that allowed or not? Elam Abaye, so rather comes like Abaye as we turn over to Chavdalim and Beis explains Abaye b'mikra nijla fun of l'achar k'mifligi. The machlekes is how to darshan the pasuk. The machlekes is whether the word etzba is going to be modified backwards or not. Before we go weiter, let's take one moment to look at the tab. Rashi says Shimon says mikra nijla achar of l'fun not backwards. Whereas according to Rabbanan, it is darshan backwards. Therefore, the word velokach will go. The word etzva will go on velokach as well. So that's Tanakama. That is Rabbi Shimon. And now it says the Gemara Amar Abaye in the second line. Hadamar Rav Elazar Rav Shimon. That's Rav Elazar Rav Shimon said Mafkim Davua. Leave the opinion of his father Rav Shimon Umafkam the Rabbanan. And leaves the opinion of the Rabbanan. Titania is neither like Rav Shimon nor like the Tanakam Rav Elazar Rav Shimon Aimer. Kol Makish Emre Etzva B'Kabbalah Shina B'Kabbalah Puzzle. Anytime the Torah says the word Etzva with regard to the Kabbalah, but not by the placing of the blood, then if it was Shina, if the Kohen changed in the way that he performed it, and did it with his left hand, it's going to be puzzle. But in Nesina, it's going to be kosher. Then Shina Benesina puzzle. So depending where the Torah wrote the original word, that's going to determine whether you have a Shina, you can do something differently within that precise avodah. It also can't be darshaned that far. Says the Gemara, let's continue learning whether the avodah or what level the avodah needs to be done with one's hand, etc. Amar Rabbi Chanat, 15 lines down the two dots. Amar Rabbi Yechon, Komak, Shenemar Etzba Ukahuna Ina Yela Yamin. It must be your right hand. Because Hakadaite, entirety being, we think you need both. If you'll say it like Kohen Midam Achatas, that's why. If you hold me with Sarah, they'll say it like Kohen, that's why I'm honest. But I've already committed to look Now there it's no din of the right. Tanan, and yet we low comes the small puzzle. So even if the Torah doesn't explicate, it has to be right. You see by Kemitza, if it's going to be the small, it's going to be puzzle. Ela ma'rava oy etzva oy kahuna. Amrei Abaye arei olech zevar on the kevesh. T'chsebu kuna, t'chse v'hikriv. HaKoyin is like over there mizvech. And yet, v'amar marzu olech zevar on the kevesh. Utenan. So what do we see? Says the Gemara. We see that there's some level of the left hand. This is base lachot. It's in the left hand entirely. So explains the Gemara. B'davar hama'akiv kapara. It's only going to be in the parts that avoid that are ma'akiv the kapara. Dumi demitzayra. I very Kabbalah d'chsebu kuna v'davar ma'akiv kapara b'kapara who tinanim we learned kibbul with small kosher Rav Shimon machshir. So we see Rav Shimon is machshir even when it's ma'akiv the Kabbalah. Says the Gemara of Shimon tarti bayi. Rav Shimon needs both etzba and kahuna to show that's referring to the right hand, and therefore we don't have the extra pasuk to invalidate the carbon done in such a manner. But I asked him, really? Me by Rav Shimon Tarti, but then Rav Shimon Aimer, call Magish never Yad, Ein El Yad Yamin. Excuse me, Ein El Yamin Etzba. Ein El Yamin, excuse me, Ein El Yamin. Torah says Etzba, Ein El Yamin Etzba. Einay ela yamin. Says the Gemara, Etzbaya loy baya kahuna. You're right, the etzva doesn't need kuna, but kuna, by etzva does need the finger. Velakayin lamali, bekihunan has to be the kayin in his state of kahuna while wearing the appropriate clothing. Ay, varizrikin dolchsevu alakuna, it's an zarek with a small parcel. V'loy pligi, Rav Shimon Omer Abaye Polig, b'braisa of the tiny kibble with small parcel of Shimon Machshir, zarek with small parcel of Shimon Machshir. So you see that indeed, there are shitas, there is a Abaye that does disagree. We'll stop over here, I'll pick it over shitas Rav on the next year, B'siyata Dishma.